Hello guys, DSCAN here, and today I am going to show you the 10 most important things you need to know before you go into wormhole space. I see a lot of people who are scared to go into the wormholes on their exploration runs, but I'm going to help you on your journey to visit this unknown, beautiful and mysterious area of New Eden. Number 1. Finding your first wormhole. This is probably the simplest step of them all. The first thing you're gonna want to do is equip a ship, preferably a covered up ship. I prefer a stealth bomber with core scanner probes, and you're just gonna wander HiSec like you always did. If you ever did exploration, you know what I'm talking about. You probably came across a couple of wormholes already. And you're just gonna scan down these signatures in order to find a wormhole. It's very easy. Probably 1 in 3 systems has a wormhole in it, so that should be okay. The second thing you're immediately going to be encountering is wormhole types. Not every wormhole is the same. Actually, every wormhole is probably different in its own way. But if you go to your first wormhole and press show info, you're gonna see a couple of interesting things. First, you're gonna see it leads into unknown space. So it's unknown. We don't know what it is. If it says unknown, it's probably a lower class wormhole. If it says unknown dangerous, it's probably a higher class wormhole, so it's more dangerous. It probably won't last another day, and larger ships can pass through this wormhole. What we learned from this is it probably won't last another day, so it started its decay phase. Wormholes last generally 24 hours, and then they collapse and decay and go to another system. So that taught us it has started its decay phase, but it's probably not ending soon, so it's probably safe to go in right now. It also said larger ships can enter this wormhole. What that means is that battleships can actually enter through this wormhole, which probably tells us it's either a C2 or a C3. And you might be wondering, what is C2, what is C3? You have 6 wormhole classes, 1 to 6. And these classes generally signalize the danger of the wormhole in general. What kinds of ships can pass through, how hard the combat sites are from the sleepers, and all of that. But we'll get into that later. The next big thing in wormholes is bookmarks. This wormhole will not show up in your overview like a gate would in HiSec or on K-Space. You have to bookmark your own exit. It's super important. Of course I have probes with me now, but if you happen to not have probes with you for some reason, which you should never do in wormhole space, then you might be able to never reach the exit if you ever did not bookmark. That is super important. Bookmarks are the most important thing that so many people forget, and it becomes their death, because the only way to get out is either get killed or self-destructing your pod. That's literally the only way you can get out if you do not bookmark and you don't have probes on you. If you didn't bookmark and you have probes on you, you can still scan the wormholes, but it will take a while before you find the actual wormhole that you're looking for again. So that's why it's so important. On the way to this celestial here, as you can see, I made a safe spot, which is quite important as well. Another big thing that a lot of people seem to forget is KILEBOARDS. KILEBOARDS are crucial for my wormhole exploration and intel. It is so important. These are all very basic things that you have to know before you go in. I just typed in the number of the wormhole, the name of the wormhole, into KILEBOARD there, and it's giving me some intel. As you can see, this wormhole is not really active in PvP, and what I'm also looking for is the activity of single corporations. This wormhole is occupied by a POCOS, as we saw in our DSCAN, but it's not that active. So I saw this heron kill over here, which is pretty dangerous for me because I'm also in a frigate. So I press on the guy who killed him, but I saw he was active in a variety of different wormholes, so he wasn't really a threat to me. So that's really how you can evaluate the threat of the wormhole. And that brings me to the next very important part of wormhole space exploration. And that is your directional scanner. Your DSCAN is such a simple thing, but I'm still amazed by how many people that actually did not use their DSCAN and just die because of it. If you're wandering in wormhole space, even when I'm in HiSec, even when I'm in any space, I just made it a habit of pressing my DSCAN every couple of seconds. It is so important to master your DSCAN as I'm doing here. I am actually trying to scout out the player-owned structure of the enemy by adjusting the numbers on my DSCAN with the kilometers to actually find it. So your DSCAN is super important. What we'll find here is the enemy POCOS. This is a goal that you can set for yourself. These people, they live in this wormhole. As you can see, there's a bunch of warp bubbles around it, and they've really organized it very well. This Angel Control Tower here is owned by a corporation, by a player corporation, who just come here and do industry, or mining, or combat sites, or Tech 3 production, or I even saw a drug lab. If you want to be a drug maker, you can make drugs in wormhole space. Like, if you want to be the ultimate criminal, you can do that. You can see here, this boss has a bunch of modules, some ship maintenance bays where they can store their ships like you can in stations, and a bunch of corporate hangars where they can put all kinds of items in, some reprocessing arrays. They're doing all kinds of stuff in here. Reprocessing minerals, production, anything you can think of. There are so many activities. You can do planetary interaction. You can do so many things in wormhole space that are so awesome. This can be your ultimate goal. Having a POCOS up and running, making money with your corporation, and just doing awesome stuff. But there's always this risk. And there's always this sense of the unknown, and there's always this, I don't know how to describe it, it's always a tension in wormhole space, because you do not have local like you do in K-space. You cannot actually see who's in there in the system with you. The only tools you have are either your DSCAN or combat probes. That's literally the only way you could see or find people in the system. If you're an explorer like we are, we love to do data and relic sites. We do them in HiSec, but they are not really that profitable. And after a while, when you pass the noob phase, you've earned a couple of millions, you want to earn more. And that's when these come in. In wormholes, in lower class wormholes, C1, C2, C3, you have these NULLSEC data and relic sites that they practically copied over from NULLSEC into wormhole space. And they can be quite profitable, exceptionally the relic sites, because they can contain quite a bit of money. Coupled to that though, are ambushes. This is something I think anyone should really know about before they go into wormhole space. There is this risk. People can be complete assholes. It's just like that. That is EVE Online. Welcome to EVE Online. That's the thing. As you can see here, I found this magnate who thought he could make a quick buck in our previous wormhole that we actually lived in. And with my Cloaky Manticore, I shot him and many others before him. Yeah, it happens, and I think you should know about it before you go in. To know that this can happen, if you go in with a ship, just make sure you go in with the thought of not returning it. It's a nice bonus if you get the extra money, because, I mean, what is the cost of a magnate? It's about $1 million or something. And the amount of money you can get out of these relic sites are much more than that. Sometimes it's like 40 million you get out of that. So the risk is much higher, but also is the payout. But keep in mind that if you go into wormhole space, people can do this. That is the risk versus reward. That is simply how it works. Because I've got so many conversations from people that actually shot, and they were like, why did you shoot me? That's the reason. Risk versus reward. I'm helping to keep the prices of our loot up. That's literally what I'm doing here. So keep that in mind, that this stuff can happen. It is EVE Online. It can happen. The next thing is sleeper sites. So in Wormholes you have sleepers. Before they only got into Wormholes, but now they've also arrived in NULLSEC. So it is really in the storyline, the sleepers. So the sleeper relic sites and data sites and combat sites, combat anomalies, those are the three types of sleeper sites. The sleeper sites, they always contain rats, so they will always contain sleepers within them. So as you can see here, we are fighting with a little group of ours, trying to fight these sleepers with a couple of battle cruisers. So the difficulty of these sites really varies. If you look at the Wormhole classes, they really vary. So the C1s are the easiest ones, and the C6 ones are the hardest ones, which often get done with dreadnoughts even. So that is pretty damn hardcore. So these can drop blue loot, what is referred to as blue loot. So these are some kind of sleeper books that actually get bought by NPCs, but you can actually sell them as well, just to the market, and people will buy them. The markets are seeded with them, and they will get bought pretty much instantly by NPCs usually. So these can net you quite a bit of money, plus a salvage, because these guys, they actually drop salvage that can be used in Tech 3 production, which is actually pretty interesting. So in the sleeper relic sites, you can sometimes find a sleeper Talokan frigate. What is interesting about these things is that they can drop parts for making the blueprints for the new tactical destroyers. So if you're ever wondering where the tactical destroyer parts come from, they're from Wormhole space. So that's pretty cool. The last thing I wanted to talk about is wormhole effects. What do I mean by wormhole effects, you might wonder? Well, every wormhole has a special kind of effect in it. It might look as a second star, but it's actually not a second star, it's a wormhole effect. So you have different things like the Magnetar, the Red Giant, the Pulsar effect, the Wolf Red effect, and the Cataclysmic Variable effect, and the Black Hole effect. These all have their specific bonuses that they add, or deficits that they add to your ship. As you can see right here, it's a Red Giant. The thing you see over there in the air, that's a Red Giant. So what the Red Giant is going to do in a Class 1 Wormhole is plus 15% heat damage, plus 30% overload bonus, plus 30% smart bomb range, plus 30% smart bomb damage, and 30% bomb damage. And if you go from a 1 to a Class 2 to a Class 3, 4, 5, and 6, these bonuses just even increase. So the Magnetar has different bonuses, the Pulsar has different bonuses. I'm gonna leave a link down in the description where you can check all the wormhole environment effects, so you can check all the different bonuses or deficits that these wormhole effects actually give. So these are really important to keep in mind as well. If you go into a wormhole and plan to do something, really watch out, because you might burn out your guns before you think they might have been burned out. Like, that has happened, and that has killed people. So alright guys, there's still many things that I did not cover in this video, like Thera and Shattered Wormholes. These are different kind of wormholes that you cannot put bosses in. For example, Thera is the only wormhole that has actually stations in it. So there are some things that I probably didn't cover apart from that as well, but I'll leave some links down in the description from the EVE Online wiki, which is a great resource, as well as the EVE University wiki. So I'm gonna leave that information down in the description. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.